Greetings, magical friends. It's that time again.
It's that time.
The candles are lit.
The stories are coming out.
And we are getting third eye spiritually lit.
And the tea has been made.
And the tea has been, would you like some? And I pour you some, darling.
Oh, yes.
All right, let's bring your cup here. This is a very special green tea because you know how good for you that is, don't you? It has all the magical properties that keep your empathic abilities open. All right.
And what I love is if we were in London or anywhere in the UK,
yes,
this is daily operations right here. This is standard protocol. And
of course.
What about in India?
Of course.
Do you think it's this often? Is as often as the Brits
twice a day,
it?
Of course.
Twice a day.
Actually, it's very interesting because we drink, a lot of the time in India, they drink English tea now, even though the tea leaves came from India and we were adding masala to it. And then it was brought to Britain and then it came back to India and they were drinking English tea now. My parents drank actually more English tea than they did like Indian chai.
So when the whole tea phenom started back in the day, so it started with probably the Indian people, right, had all the tea.
Well, they had herbal teas.
They had herbal tea. And the Asians had tea.
Of course.
And then the English came.
Liked the black tea.
Liked the black tea.
Harvested it.
Darjeeling, I think is one of them.
Of course, and then brought it back.
I never know if that's how you say it.
And so people think that when you come to India,
right,
like everybody's drinking chai in their house. Chai meaning with the spices in it, the cardamom, the ginger, etc.
Right.
And my parents actually were drinking English tea. So when we made chai, we called it chai, like my parents would say.
Chai means tea in Hindi.
It means tea, right?
Okay.
So they would say, make us some chai. So when I went to make chai in the kitchen for my parents, I was making regular chai. Like they would put, maybe once in a while they would put ginger in it or some cloves, but not like the chai flavor that you get from Starbucks.
That
was special occasions.
When we order chai tea, we're actually saying it
Chai.
incorrectly.
You're saying chai.
Because we're saying tea.
Yeah, you are.
I would like some tea, please.
Exactly.
So, wow, that's fantastic. So it's so interesting because when you think of tea, you always think of the English, and you think of the UK, you think this is where it comes from because this is where they have immortalized it. Like they are the founders of tea.
Well, and they certainly made it go worldwide, but in Africa and in India, there was always tea, and certainly in East Asia. See, we're Indians are still Asian, we're South Asian, and then we call East Asian Japanese, Chinese, you know.
Did you just
Thai.
say Japanese?
Yes.
Well, guess where we're going in a very short while.
So guys, we're doing
weeks.
the Cherry Blossom Mystical Japan Retreat, which we have been leading for many years. And Oriah and I lead our group of spiritual, magical wizards and sorcerers and healers, and which is you guys. And we lead you through the magic of Japan. Japan retreats are they're totally different, right? Don't you think?
All of our retreats.
Because Japan has such an ancient history, but it's backed by or complemented by this incredibly not only contemporary but futuristic leanings, right? I mean, in terms of the technology, that's the way the trains are set up, the way the restaurants are set up, shopping is set up.
Everything.
It's incredible.
It's a different world. And I think it you know, some people have said, oh, interesting, you're going to Japan to experience a spiritual sacred retreat. How is that so? But if you think about it, you know, the temples and the Shogun? The
Shogun warriors.
The warriors and the dynasties and the practices and the amazing history and the traditions of Japanese people are beyond mystical. I mean, we're talking, I think they are one of the like
OGs?
The OGs of magic, seriously. I mean, their dragons and their stories, yeah.
So, but let's also talk about when we're going there during cherry blossoms. This is when the festival of spring. This cherry blossoms only happens for maybe a few weeks.
Yeah.
And these are those beautiful pink flowered trees that you see, guys, and you should Google this or come to our Instagram in a few weeks and you'll see the pictures of us there. And we're going to be moving through this season. It's really an important time when we do retreats along the solstice.
Right.
Summer, spring, solstice, all of this, because this is when, first of all, these are when the seasons change, but spiritually speaking, and I will tell you, just like Halloween is the veil that is thinnest
Right.
between worlds,
Yeah.
there's a veil that thins
Yeah.
at every single season. And it's a great time to make affirmations. It's a great time to let go of the past, especially if you're there on a new moon. You make the new moon affirmations. So we're going to be there just at the perfect time. If you guys want to join us next year.
We haven't set any dates yet.
No, the dates are set. It's just that we have literally already, I don't know, half filled.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, we do.
See, I'm not in charge of the retreats.
Because some people couldn't go this year, so they're going to go to next year's group.
Oh, that's why.
All right, so join us.
Yeah, if you have any questions, Miss Erica, our assistant, she handles all of that. And you could just email her at info@rizmirza.com. But we would like to talk to you about why you're here today. So we are going to do... Yes, part 3 of our mystical experiences. And, as we started opening this world up and talking about it, it's been very interesting because those of you who have been commenting are sharing your mystical experiences. But what I think Riz and I are always trying to do is bring the mystical into the normal. We want to explain things in a way that you can see as almost everyday life. Like, yes, it's mystical and supernatural and, oh my God, outrageous, but also, what about if this was your normal life? What about if this was every day? What about if you just expected this? So that's kind of what we're trying to usher in.
Yes, because the more that you start to, and the more that you start to see life as a mystical experience, you then begin to experience life as a mystical experience. Right? Because everything starts to go that way, meaning you start to read into things more, where you start to connect the dots more. Things that you thought were so-called coincidences are actually intersecting points of various realities, destinies happening. And when you can read into a situation, the way what I have been doing as a shaman in these years, in this lifetime, has been really helping people to understand what's beneath the layers of what you think is happening on the surface. For example, speaking of seasons and cherry blossoms, think about winter. When winter season happens, all the trees are bare and the leaves are gone, and yet so it looks like nothing is happening, but there is something deep happening under the surface, isn't there? Because spring is building under the surface. So I love sharing our mystical experiences with everybody. You had a list.
I have a list.
All right, I'm going to lean back a little bit now, because when you get that list out...
I get the list out, but I also want to let everybody know that we haven't introduced ourselves, and we haven't made our little intro video yet that we keep talking about making it, that we don't have to introduce ourselves every time. But if you're just joining us for the first time, you probably want to know who we are. So I'm Lady O. I'm an intuitive empath and my dearest husband.
I'm psychic medium, trance channel, shaman, Riz the Wiz, as my friends call me, and we are friends, so yes.
And we've been doing this for over a decade, publicly, privately, and professionally. So.
For close to 2 decades. So if you guys want to see some of our history, go to the community page here on YouTube. You can see photos of retreats and over thousands of channeling circles, thousands of psychic mediumship readings in yoga studios and meditation centers, on the street, surprising people for all these years, all on video. Check out the channel, do a deep dive on this channel. You will find amazing things from all these years. And of course, our sacred retreats. And sacred plant medicine ceremonies, over 2,000 of them that we have led, all for the evolution, the next step for all people to discover the magic within. And without further ado,
I got some good ones here.
Let's go to your list. Okay.
Oh my God. I don't know if I should just pick them or read off a few and you pick them. Because they're all...
Yeah, let's have her read off a few.
So it's hard to...
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to just read a few that I haven't done yet. That time when I was on psilocybin and I saw the entire sky light up with UFOs, which has been more than on one occasion. The other one is... I was going to say anytime I trance channel, but that's going to end up turning into an educational talk. So
it's edutainment, right?
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
going to do both.
Okay. Another one is that time when we first realized we had a past life connection when we were on chat.
Yes.
And when we first met and we started speaking in a different kind of accent.
Okay.
We did Fresno Losing Time last episode. Let's see. We can talk about numerous synchronicities lining up. Obviously, my alien experience is kind of heavy. Maybe I will touch on it one day, but I do have a lot of videos online on the topic and a book I wrote. We talked about the TP incident last time. The time when we did Pung in India on Holi.
Yes.
That was unreal.
Okay.
I have a lot to say about that one.
Those are a lot of plant medicine ceremony mystical experiences.
No, there was only 2.
Okay.
I only said 2.
No, meaning we have so many of those.
Oh, yeah, we do. The time when I astrally projected, it's a full story, step by step of how that happened.
Okay.
And also when I was 5 years old and spirit entered into my body, which I feel very called to tell that story to start off. Actually,
I was gonna say I was gonna pick a different one.
Which one?
I know which one you guys wanted to hear about, which I believe, other than the alien one, which
I think I know,
is the astral projection.
Oh, really?
Of course.
Okay. Well,
this is a hot topic. This is going to be.
Topic.
It's because people have first of all have always been interested in what happens. What does it mean to dream? Some people swear I was somewhere else. Why did I fall back into my body? Like your body does this jerk when you get back in the bed. Why? After a dream, because your soul did leave and comes back. So that's a type of out of body experience. So thing. I think you owe it to all of the followers to explain how you have been astral traveling.
Oh my God.
And you've done it without trying, guys.
I'm the only host on a podcast that wipes my nose.
No, I know another person, me, who if I listen,
we're the only ones. Hey, one day we'll be the OGs of hosts.
Yeah, that'll be our claim to fame. You know what's so special about that podcast? Those guys used to blow their noses if they had runny noses.
What kind of crazy people are they?
It's better than stopping it. And then
we're just normal people. That's all it is. Okay, so I'm going to tell the story, but here's the thing. Not quite normal. No, we're not. I think people know that by now.
Okay.
I do want to say, if I tell the story, it is a step-by-step process. It's very technical. There's beginning, middle, and end.
Well, first tell us about the experience, because if you break it down, that's going to be a lesson.
No, it's not in this case. It's not a lesson.
Really?
It's not a lesson. In this case, it's step-by-step in the sense of why I wanted to do it, how it happened.
That's a lesson.
Yeah, but they're going to learn a little bit about how legit astral projection
well, how about you tell us
it's a real experience.
Okay, I got an idea. Why don't you tell us the experience? Because I just want to hear the experience, and then after you can break it down.
Last 15 seconds.
But then
you're going to ask me questions.
Yeah, do like your description of what you really experience in your body.
Oh my God!
Not the step by step.
Is this what happens when you have to explain things to a nerd? Because I apparently am a giant nerd that has to be so structured. He's not going to disagree with me.
So, call it what you want. But yeah, we want to hear the story.
Do you guys realize he's 4 years older than me? So we have this thing always that he's the senior class and I'm the freshman class.
Yeah. Think about us that way. Breakfast Club.
I don't like it.
Late 1980s. Okay, so let's hear it.
Okay. Here's the story. Oh my God. Okay.
Set it up for us.
First of all, I was 16 years old. And I was... I'm just going to be honest with you. I had a new boyfriend and I was really desperate to spend time with him all the time. I had this boring life. Without him, he was fun. And he went into the military. He was older than me. And so he was at Camp Pendleton or whatever. I don't know. He was far away. And so I was determined I'm going to learn how to astral project because I heard that if you astral project, I can somehow find a way to go to where he is. So I went to the library because that's all we had. And I got all the books. And I was very nervous because I was deeply Christian back then. I mean, I was on the verge of getting excommunicated, so I was on my way out. But I was, because I challenged all the elders all the time. But I sat down with the books and I took my time and I studied. I read all of them. And one of them told me exact instructions of step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, like how to actually really do it.
Where is this library in the 1980s? This is like she went to Hogwarts library.
It was literally Hogwarts. And this book literally was all torn. It looks like it had been checked out many times. And it was from
Were
the 70s.
You wearing an invisible cloak as you entered this library?
Right? I did. I was like styling. So anyway, I planned it out. See, I'm going into the details, but okay.
No, this is not the details. This is the story.
Okay, so I planned it out, and because you have to be when you're starting out and you're doing it for the first time, and if you're consciously planning on doing it, because some people just have unconscious, conscious astral projection where their body just leaves their spirit leaves their body without like planning on it or trying to do it. But if you're trying to learn and you've never done it before, it's kind of like you have to set everything up. So I had all the setup of what I was wearing, how I was laying.
What did the book say?
The book said that I can't have any obstructions. I have to have no rings, necklaces, nothing. No time constraints, because you could be out for 8 hours and it could be like only a few seconds. Your body literally just goes into like almost a deep sleep death state. It's like really slows down.
Right.
And so you can't have anybody disturbing you. So you have to make sure that your timings are right. There's nobody who's going to barge in and like wake you up. And I had to make sure I had water, because you come back totally dehydrated if you're gone out of your body for hours.
You should make put in the
like
merch. No,
What?
in our merch page, when we finally launch our merch store, when God knows when that's going to be, we should have an astral trap. Why?
Because I've tried. It's not done. There's YouTube things.
That's why I said when we finally launch our merch,
and all kinds of nonsense.
guys, we will launch our merch store eventually.
Tech, but not that tech, and I can't get the merch to go onto the YouTube channel. I do have the store.
Okay, but listen, when we launch our YouTube merch store, we should have an astral travel kit. So it has all the things necessary to astral travel.
But it's almost actually a good idea.
Yeah. Why almost a good idea?
Because at first it sounded crazy, but then it sounds kind of like
listen, you could write astral travel like on a block of cheese and I'll buy it. It's astral travel cheese.
Oh my God.
I'd like to order that.
Okay. So yes, to the merch store.
Okay.
So don't turn into Gene Simmons and talk about merch every single interview, every single show.
Well,
because we know how Gene is.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Where was I? Okay, so I prepared myself. I got in bed. I did all the things. I chose the right day. I made sure I had 8 hours. I had the water, and then I had to have a notepad and a pencil, because I had to make sure that I took notes the second I get back, because I might forget. A lot of people forget what happens.
Okay.
Okay, so I did everything, and I started. Now, on the first time I tried, the vibration started, because your body starts vibrating, and it started. And I really got scared and I couldn't do it. I thought, because there's a lot of things that I was afraid of that I've heard and read about, like when your body's empty, when the body is just laying there with no spirit in it, you do have your golden cord that's connected to your spirit. You are connected on a tether, but your body is just open for any other
well, you definitely have to do an affirmation and surround yourself with a protective light.
And there's been stories that walk-ins and different kind of spirits have entered the bodies, and I was like, I didn't want that. There's a lot of things I was afraid of.
It's like leaving your house and not locking the front door.
Right.
So, but if you lock the front door, you'll be fine.
Yeah. So I was afraid of that. So I tried 3 times, 3 different days, three different full attempts. I kept going further and further each time, to where I almost felt my spirit was leaving.
This is actually very interesting, because most people who try to astral travel, it's years before they feel this. Of course.
Well, I'm just, I think it's because I was so innocent and open. I didn't have a lot of ideas about anything.
Young, yes,
and I just was open to anything. Like, let's try it. But it was really scary, because it was very real, very visceral. And your body, you do feel all the sensations, which I'll go into after, because it's technical.
Okay.
But so I started vibrating. Okay, so the third time I started vibrating, and I knew this was going to be the time. I felt confident, and I was like, I could do this. And exactly what the book said was going to happen happened, where it's almost like I jumped out of my body. That same feeling, like when you jump into your body when you're coming from a dream.
Yeah, you fall back in your body.
Yeah, it's kind of like a jerk feeling. That's kind of how it feels when I came out. It wasn't smooth. It was like almost unnatural, right? So I remember coming out, and the first thing I did, which is textbook what was in the book, was I rolled my spirit, because my body's laying flat. My spirit rolled through the wall.
Wow.
And I got to see all the micro layers of the cellular system of the wood of the wall. And I prepped for that, because it was in the book, and I knew that was going to happen, because the body doesn't know which way to go. It doesn't have any coordination. So you went straight sideways.
You could have gone up.
Yeah, there's no coordination, though.
Or down.
You don't know what you're doing. There's no gravity.
So you're not sending your awareness in a particular direction. You do now, though, don't you?
At the time, the only thing I had was, I don't astral anymore.
Right, that's
but
true.
what I did at the time was I had my intention set to meet up with Chris. Now, here's the thing that's crazy, you guys. I had set this up to that he was going to astral project at the same time. And that's very hard to do when it's like you're calling from the base phone. And then he happened to tell me that there was a friend of his that had done it in the barracks, knew about it, and could help him. So I was like, oh my God, this is actually really going to work, right? And so my goal, our intention was to meet up. Okay, so I rolled into the wall. And I knew from the book, I remembered to be prepared for that because that scares most people. And if that happens, you can freak out and then run back into your body and snap right back in. I didn't want that. So I had to be brave. And I was like, okay, there's the wall. Okay. Like I could see, because I had my conscious mind. So I saw which is such a spiritual lesson right there, that you have your conscious mind and you're not in your body, which is a lot of our paranormal work and mediumship work, et cetera, et cetera. So, okay. I went through the wall. Then I remember telling myself, you have to will yourself back. That's how you get back, is you have to will. Another spiritual lesson there. But you will yourself back into the room where you want to be. And so I willed myself back, and I was back in my bedroom, and the whole room was illuminated. It was like not my room. It was my room. I saw my bed, but everything was like fisheye.
Yeah.
And it was like glowing, and everything was like, now that I've done mushrooms, it was similar.
Yes.
Like it had this very ethereal kind of like pulsating, almost like alive. The room was alive.
Now, this is before you went back in your body.
Oh, yeah. This is while I'm out of my body.
Well, this is like you are now in pure energy form.
Pure energy
So it makes
form.
sense that you would now start to see everything else radiating energy in that, because you're now on that same frequency.
People who have had near-death experiences talk about this.
That's right.
You know, our friend Michelle, she shared that with us.
That's right.
And people who have had that, they had that experience of everything looked different. It was glowing and energetic. Okay. So then I felt brave, and I was like, okay, I can walk through my room to the hallway and walk, because you're supposed to technically go up to the rooftop, and you're supposed to then fly, because you technically
I've
can
done that
fly.
in my meditations.
Yes,
actually.
You're really good at that, because you help people do that a lot.
Yes.
So I knew that was my goal. My goal was to leave the house and go up on the rooftop, but I couldn't get out of the walking around in the room, the house. Like I couldn't figure out how to lift up. And I think it was ultimately because I was really scared, like terrified. Some people have taken it so far that practice this all the time. They've gone off planet.
Yes. Now those people were also going into remote viewing as well.
And I could remote view as well as a choice, but maybe it's because of this, or who knows, all the reasons. But it's a little different because you're still in your body. You can throw your consciousness over there. But this is actually my heart rate. Like my fingers are kind of blue a little bit, and the body is like.
What?
Oh yeah, the body goes into. I can't think of the name.
So you shouldn't do this for too long, then.
No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't do it more than, your max, I would not do it. 12 hours is max. 8 hours is the max. Like, that's
I thought you were going to say like 6 minutes. Oh, no. You guys, did you think she was going to say 12 hours?
When you leave your body, there's so much time that clicks by, and you don't realize it because you're in there's no time. So everything happens instantly.
Well, that was going to be my next question, is what was your sense of time?
No sense of time.
Is it like, have you ever scuba dived?
No, I've snorkeled.
People have told me that when they scuba dive, that they have to constantly look at the time because the air is limited.
Right.
And they have to go back up. So time feels different underwater.
I knew how much time I had. I had set 8 hours for myself. And in 8 hours, it calculates to about 15 minutes of conscious time out of the body. And the body, when you come back in the body, it feels like your body has been
very mind-blowing to me that
dead. It does feel that way.
That you were gone for 8 hours. You were set up to leave for 8 hours.
Yeah, I left at 8. Actually, my goal was to be back in body by 6:45 a.m. because I had to
fly to New York to L.A. is 6 hours. So you're saying longer than that is when you would astral travel.
Yeah. It took all of that time too, because how much, and there's so much more to the story I want to finish, but the leaving the body part took a good 15 minutes for me to just figure out and organize how to do it. Then another 15 minutes, I'm calculating, this is about how long, I think another 15 minutes trying to figure out how to navigate in the room.
Okay.
So by the time I'm even doing anything, 25 minutes, half an hour is going by. It goes by really fast. I'm figuring about how long things took. So I walk down the hallway. Everything is very illuminated. I don't feel the floor. I don't feel myself walking, but I feel myself up and down.
Like you're vertical.
I'm vertical. And I'm walking down the hall and I go into the living room and oh my God.
The other version of you was there eating. It could happen.
Sometimes it's like having a brother, honestly. But it's because I'm an only child. I assume this is what it's like. So.
No, it's just something husbands say also.
Really?
Yeah.
If I watch my kids, the siblings, this is what they do.
Okay, go on.
Okay. So I walked in and then I look against the wall and Chris is sitting on the floor in he's wearing blue matching PJs that are like standard, like boot camp PJs. Uh-huh. And he's sitting with his legs like this, his back is like this, and his head is down.
in your house?
In the living room.
Of your house?
Of my house. And he's thousands of miles away. I'm in California. He was like in, I don't know. I forget.
Well, not thousands of miles
It's not
away.
Camp Pendleton, because I know it's in California. It's a different camp. It was like in Louisiana. I don't know, Alabama somewhere. Okay, so I saw him. And I immediately got like, it worked.
Yeah.
But then I was like, how come he's asleep and why is his head down and how can I get him to talk to me?
Did he notice you when you walked in?
No.
Did he look like a ghost?
No.
He looked 3D.
Yes. He was actually.
So did you see any of his room?
But everything was ethereal looking.
Moving like a glow?
Like a glow, like soft.
So, but just his body, not any of his room.
No, just
none of
his
that
body.
was like merged or blended in.
No, because he was in boot camp. So no, he was just there,
okay,
but like 3D. So he was there, and his head was down, and I said, "Oh no, he's asleep."
Why?
I don't know why he was asleep.
No, why'd you think that he was because
he should have been
sitting.
standing up like me and with his eyes open, looking at me, like so we can talk. Like, why is his head down?
Because you were seeing the physical body, not his spirit, who was trying to still hadn't arrived.
Right, something like that. But
now we're getting very mystical.
But then I had a conversation with him after, and then we compared notes. So, okay, so then. As I looked at him, I was very focused and concentrated because I was trying to see, and I didn't think I could talk. I didn't feel like I could talk, and I didn't even attempt it. But I wanted to like make him lift his head and look at me, but I couldn't, and I didn't know how, and I got a little nervous because I didn't know what was going on. It was kind of weird. And so then I thought, who's that guy? And I turned like this, and there was a person standing there with dark hair staring at me. And I can describe him. I mean, he kind of looked Italian, he was like 5'8".
Okay, so you could describe him
perfectly.
Right.
And
he was the friend.
I did not, he was the friend, but I didn't know the friend was going to be joining on this occasion. So I really got nervous.
You're trying to have a day, then the best friend comes along when you astral travel. That's something to watch out for when you astral travel. When you're astral traveling to meet a loved one, make sure that there's no third wheel. Only third eyes.
Riz Oriah.
I made that up just now. Okay.
Point 102.
Go ahead.
Okay.
All right.
So I got nervous. I got scared, and I said, "Oh yeah, no, this is beyond my pay grade. I don't know what to do about any of this. I have to go back to my body." And I remembered, oh my God, I've probably been gone a long time. I don't know how long I've been gone, but I bet it was because that's what the books all say. And so as I came back, and this part. To this day, I wish I could sit with the guides. I think I might have asked Red Eagle one time. And I want to go over this one tiny moment that was almost Disney level. Okay. As I went back into my room, and remember, I'm not going through walls or anything because that's a choice as well. You could go through walls.
So you were walking as a human.
As a human through the hallway. Because some people get scared when they go through walls because it's too
I can imagine.
Off-putting. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so I was walking down the hall, which could attribute to why ghosts probably do the same thing. When we do our paranormal shows,
they
go
that's
through.
true. They do a lot of human
doors,
things.
They open and shut doors.
Somebody asked me that one time when I was doing.
They don't always go through walls.
Yeah, they act like they're still in the human body.
Yeah,
right.
And I think it's for that reason, maybe because it's a little. You're going into the consciousness and the cells, the soul of the material. The wood.
Molecular structure. So that's not what you are used to as
it's a
when
little
you were
strange
alive.
you see it magnified 1,000 times. Wow. You're like a speck inside a speck. So it's a little intimidating.
Okay.
So I go back and I see my bed, and I tried not to look at myself because some people say when you look at yourself laying there, some people are fascinated and some people freak out. And I think I was going to be the one that freaks out. So I had a feeling I was going to. So I was like, don't look. So as I was coming back in, I turned around, and I didn't even consciously think of this. My soul just knew to do this. I turned my body around like if I was going to sit down on my bed and lay back in my body. And I did not plan for that. That was just
like automatic,
wow. Which is interesting, but that's not the Disney part. The Disney part was when I turned around to sit on my bed, I looked up and there was a hand shaped like this, a male hand. Okay. It was like this in this position, and it was coming from the ceiling, and it was cut off to about right here. So it was just like the fingers, and it was like pushing me into my body.
What?
Disney level. I know it doesn't sound real. I think I did talk to Red Eagle about it. I don't know why. Maybe my higher self wanted to like make it a point. They're ushering me back, or I was protected, or they let me do my little rendezvous.
We could have 1,001 amazing reasons why we think that happened.
Yeah.
Okay, but you then now are entering back in the body.
Yeah, I'm entering now back in the body. So I lay back, and all of a sudden it was like scene changed, and it was like two different worlds. So in other words, now that I'm back in my body, I'm dealing with a whole new set of circumstances, a whole new set of feelings and experiences and sensations that are not happening at all previously. Total market difference, 100% separate worlds. That's crazy, because I was very conscious and very awake and very alert while I was walking around. So that I thought it was just going to be a smooth little gliding into my body.
Yeah.
Coming back in, my body was going to go, oh, I'm back. No, opposite. Come back in, and my body's like, like
what do you mean?
It was just mad. It was like, you haven't been in here a long time. We're trying to keep it alive.
Well, what do you mean your body was mad?
It was cold. Fingers were kind of bluish, which sometimes happens because your body temperature, the heat, goes down.
Well, it sounds like you're trying to start a car in the winter.
Yeah. It goes into a self-preservation mode. Heart rate goes very slow, very slow. And your whole body gets cold, and you have to prepare. They tell you to put a lot of blankets on. It's so insane. So my fingers...
This is amazing.
Guess what?
Yeah.
Fingers and toes both felt that tingly needle feeling of like when the blood is starting to rush back in, the pins and needles.
Yeah.
That started happening.
Yeah.
And as I'm sitting there, I'm going through that experience, and then the pain sets in. So then there's a stage
What kind of pain is this?
It's a pain like when blood rushes in too fast to your limbs.
What?
So you know that feeling like when you don't have blood rushing to your finger, and then all of a sudden it comes back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then it's like painful. Like there's a hurt.
Yes.
It's like, it's not,
How
the whole thing
interesting.
was uncomfortable. Coming back in the body didn't feel right.
Well, I'm trying to
but I
compare
knew
it to
what
like when I
was.
leave my body to channel, and it's different.
Yeah, because you leave a portion of your consciousness in the body to maintain the composure at all times. Heat.
No, I think it's because the
coolant.
spirit guide is in there maintaining.
Oh,
That's what I think.
okay.
Yeah.
That could happen.
You left it empty.
Empty.
Though I guarantee you there's a guide watching over that. Yeah.
Well, in the book, it said to be careful that most people, majority, 99%, cannot close the door once it's opened. Verbatim. That's what it said. And once you start to go into this astral projection world, you literally leave that door open, and most can't close it. And what happens is you can't even take a nap. You can't even go to sleep at night because you're going to leave your body.
Yes.
And it happens to people a lot, more than you know. And that scared me because after my experience, I was thinking I was going to have like demons and stuff
Really?
come attack me.
Yeah, because you were young. You
I
were
was
a teenager.
young, very religious. And then I started doing this like intense, crazy praying for like a week. I felt like I did something really bad and wrong to close.
Oh, really? To close the portals.
Yeah, to close the doors.
It's interesting how we have this innate part of us that understands energy. Meaning, when a person, and it could be a person who's not even spiritual in the sense of New Age things, and if they want to, they say things like, "We want to clear the air." Or they're like, "I needed to brush myself off after that situation." Now, you brush yourself off after rolling in the dirt, or you brush yourself off after the barber. But people use that term now for emotionally brushing yourself off, and they even feel better just doing this, like, whew, oh my God, I'm just glad I'm out of there. Like they get in a room with bad vibes. And even those so-called non-spiritual people, we call them Muggles sometimes, even they basically are affirming that your auric field does pick up and hold on to negative energy. You could call it, energetic dust from feelings or experiences or situations or places that have a lower vibration. So we are now seeing that this is coming into the normal vocabulary, because I'm telling you, astral projection or astral travel, there's people who are speaking about it who never would have thought this was real before. And so this is great.
Yeah. If you guys want to find these books, go back to look at books that were published in between 1967 to 1983.
Some of these older books are so good.
They're like magician books, honestly.
Well,
but now that I'm on a roll, would you be interested to know about the remote viewing story? Because that's related.
Well,
I'm just wondering
we're
if
going back.
Other people.
It's going to be you tell one, then I tell one.
I know. That's usually how it happens, but. Because you said remote viewing, and then I got excited because it's kind of related, and I thought maybe I could squeeze one in there. Okay,
so let's talk. Let me think about what is I do not come prepared in that sense, because I like to be really spontaneous with you guys, because
in general,
it's like whatever I'm supposed to be doing or saying, they tell me what part of my life I'm supposed to share at this moment, because there's so many. You can imagine doing so much psychic work. One thing at the moment that stands out for me was a paranormal investigation or paranormal clearing that I was invited to do over a decade ago. And it was one of the strangest, actually profound, beautiful, all the feels mixed together for this one. And it was a house where there was a couple who was living there, and I think, do you remember this one? It was the house that had all the glass. Oh, you knew which one I was going to talk about.
Yeah, because I went, and I remember it because it's the most profound one, I think, that we've ever experienced together. So
basically, a little girl had drowned in the pool of this house. And this house was an architectural marvel. Basically, it was probably built in the late 60s and early 70s. And it was almost like in the shape of an octagon. So all the rooms, it was like, imagine a big circle with like a donut, and in the center of the donut, imagine a swimming pool. Now imagine all the inside of the house was all glass on all sides facing the pool. So no matter where you walked in the circle through all the different bedrooms, kitchens, bathrooms, you could see the pool because of the glass. So this couple had paranormal activity. They'd moved in. Half of the boxes after 6 months still were stacked up in the kitchen. And they had the TV show Ghost Hunters come there. They had recorded some voices, some EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, that was quite remarkable when they played it for me. And they said sometimes one of the guys, he would wake up screaming because he was so afraid he would just get these night terrors. So they called me, and apparently at one point, some family had lived in that house, and a little girl tragically died in an accident in the pool. She drowned. So I showed up there, and I felt around, and they said, we need to show you something. We woke up the other day and we saw this. They had heard the girl's little cries and little sounds that a little girl would make, and they would wake up and nothing was there. So they found a little handprint on the glass, and that was facing the swimming pool. And it was at the height of maybe a 4 or 5 year old. And I kneeled down, and I'm staring at this little handprint. And he says, touch it. And I said, no, I don't want to mess it up. He goes, no, you can. Just touch it. So I trusted him, and I touched it. And I saw that it wasn't on the inside. It was on the outside of the glass. And I said, oh, she was outside. And he goes, no. And we touched the other side of the glass. Went out, touched it. It wasn't on the outside either. This handprint, guys, was on the inside of the glass itself. It was one sheet of glass, and somehow, inside, between the outside and the inside, this handprint appeared magically. And I think this was 2010. And the reason I bring up the year is because that's why I don't have a photograph of it. Even in 2010, you didn't really have... No one was really using their cell phone cameras. They were still using digital cameras. And I didn't bring a digital camera with me. I think maybe they probably did take a picture eventually. So I just kept touching this, and I could feel this very faint energy. So I decided that I was going to sit in a room, and I had brought some stuffed animals with me because I felt that if there was a child spirit here, I would sit down and maybe these objects would attract this child spirit to feel comfortable with me. So I sat in a room and I just had these little stuffed animals and I was just playing with them. And they were our kids' stuffed animals that we brought from home. And this went on maybe for 40 minutes. And Oriah was in the other rooms with the couple. And right for a moment, when I was going to stop playing with them, I felt like somebody was watching me from the door. And there's a feeling that as a medium I get when I know I've made contact mentally with a spirit or they now acknowledge me. And there it was. So I decided to stop playing and I got up and I started walking around in a circle in basically the only hallway in this house, which is a circle around the pool. And I'm walking and I started walking slower and I started saying things about the house and it's so nice. And I was talking about what a beautiful day it was, as if I was talking to a child. And suddenly I felt my guides wanting me to slow down. And I thought maybe this is where the spot in the pool was where she drowned. But it was by the kitchen. And the kitchen was filled with boxes that these guys hadn't unpacked. And so I just took a breath and my hand was at my side, my right hand. And then I felt this. I felt a little hand grab onto my pinky, just like the way I'm grabbing it with two fingers. And I closed my eyes because it was such a gentle, loving, like touch that only a child or a little girl would have. And I just said in my mind, I said, okay, I got you.
He also means little boys also have that gentle touch.
Yeah. So she was holding on to my pinky. And it's funny because I could still feel the emotion when I talk about it. So I told everyone, I said, okay, she's here. And I could feel that she was kind of standing behind me now. And you came into the room and the two guys came into the room. They were the couple. And she was mentally telling me to look inside one of the boxes. Now imagine your kitchen filled with boxes where you can barely make it to the sink. Okay. And so these guys used to have to climb over boxes. And I said, she wants you to open up one of the boxes. He goes, I don't even know what's in these boxes anymore. I never really marked a lot of them. And he goes, which one? There must have been at least 20, would you say, of those boxes? Mm-hmm. So he climbs over. I said, there's something near the cabinet, lower cabinet, under the sink, that box. He climbs over and he's like, well, which one? There was 3 or 4 boxes stacked. And I said, it's the second one. So he's moving boxes to get to the second one from the floor. He pulls it out. He goes, I don't even know what's in this one. I said, just open it. He pulls out, wrapped in all this stuffing paper, was a statue of a baby angel.
I remember that.
And he goes, oh my God, this was my grandmother's. This was a baby angel. And think about it. She's a little girl, baby angel. Now, she knew what was in these boxes.
Just like my astral projection, if everything's ethereal, you can see through everything.
So she could see through all the molecules. So she saw this and she saw it as something that kind of resonated with her because they're both little and both now spirits. And she wanted really us to see that. And he was blown away. And so I left the kitchen and I went outside and I could feel that she was going to go wherever I went. And I'm standing in the driveway and this driveway was this beautiful, this was a 5-star house, right? And there was this driveway lined with palm trees going out to the front gate, going to the street. And I stood there and at that moment, the sunlight was beaming down through the trees, creating almost like this pathway to heaven. I swear that's what it looked like to me at that moment. That's why this is one of the most mystical experiences I've ever had. And I still felt her with me. And I told her, I said, go up through there. I said, and everybody's waiting for you. And they're going to give you all sorts of fun toys. And they're going to give you, there's going to be kitties and doggies and horses. And and grandma and grandpa are going to be there. And I just suddenly felt like a wind from behind me went straight up past me through that almost like a runway to heaven. Not a stairway to heaven, but a runway to heaven.
I remember your face looked different when you came back in from that moment. You were by yourself and you walked in, your face looked completely rearranged. You just were solemn and peaceful and
It was amazing. It was the most beautiful mystical experience. And they didn't have any paranormal activity after that. She wasn't doing anything strange. It was just that they heard the sounds and that freaked them out. They heard a little girl crying. They knew the story. And that's what freaked them out. It was incredible.
That is really incredible.
So that's mine.
Wow.
All right, your turn.
You know what? I want to go back to the astral projection story because I forgot to say a couple things.
Sure.
So I set up a time, scheduled a call, and contacted my boyfriend, Chris, got on the phone with him. And I asked him a few questions. Number one, why were you asleep? I saw you, first of all. Why were you asleep? Number two, who was that Italian looking guy with the dark, thick hair?
Did he freak out?
He freaked out because he wasn't really a believer up until then. He didn't really think any of this was really, really real.
Right.
And he said that was his friend, the one that knew how to astral project, that wanted to help him to learn how to do it. And he said that he didn't know, the reason why he was asleep is because he didn't know if he was sleeping or awake.
Oh, okay.
He said, I thought I was awake.
Yeah.
He said, but he didn't see my house. He didn't see me.
Okay.
When I described what he was wearing, he said, that's what my PJs look like.
Okay.
And that's what my friend looks like.
So he wasn't conscious that he didn't astral project actually. Or did he?
He did with, I think his intentionality brought him.
So because
maybe he was still in the dream state.
Okay. All right. Well,
I mean, hey, that's
go
really
further with this. I want to
interesting.
hear what else you want to say about.
The astral
any
projection?
other experience about astral projection you want to share?
Well, first
that's
of all,
a very mystical experience to leave your body.
Yeah.
Consciously experience another physical place.
I was able to close the door. It didn't happen to me since, out of choice, and it's not something to mess around with. I don't think it's for fun and games, honestly. Because it's a lot is involved.
Yeah, guys, you don't want to do that because, of course, it sounds really fun. And of course, it is fun it's not fun like going to a party. It's a different kind of fun. But you have to understand that your body can actually have walk-ins from spirits who are hanging around. And that is not something you want because that can become a chronic issue where they just think this is it's like someone writing on a sign, free beer, and everybody shows up under the sun.
When I've done the psilocybin journeys, I've had similar experiences. However, I stayed in my body. My body sometimes disappeared.
Because when you do a plant medicine experience,
I'm still connected to my being. Yeah.
Exactly. You're still there, but your consciousness is expanding.
Now, some people can go to outer space. They can go in the physical, this 3D realm. They can leave the planet and go to other planets. But you can't go for very long. You have to build up to that. Some people dedicate their lives to doing this experience.
Yes.
But it leaves you with very little living out here because you're gone so much and it takes so much practice to learn how to be gone for that long.
Right.
Because you have to teach your body and create environments where you can stay alive, basically. It's kind of crazy. Now, as far as... how do I do this? Because I do have a completely separate mystical story.
Let's go for it.
But what about the remote viewing?
No, we want to go to mystical experience. Yeah, let's go to mystical experience because that's why we're here today.
I'm going to talk about my 5-year-old experience. So, is this the first time I'm saying it publicly? Because it's very private. I've shared it with you and some family members, but it's a very personal story for me. Very private story. Because when you're 5 years old, you're so innocent, so vulnerable, and so like angelic, and like and for something so profound to have happened to me and to share it, it's like a big deal. So I have to just prep myself that I'm going to say it out loud because it's it was spiritual. It was a spiritual experience.
It was a spiritual experience.
Very much so. Okay, here's the scene. So it was a weekend. I was home from school, and usually I like helping my mom with chores. I'm one of those kids. I thought that was fun.
When you were 5.
Maybe she tricked me into it. I don't know. I used to like doing dishes and sweeping, and the broom was always so much bigger than me, and I would be like trying to sweep the house. And my mom was sitting in the living room one day, and I was in the kitchen doing dishes, cleaning, and on my little stool, and the scene is so like I could just see everything right now. And so then it was time to sweep. So I got my broom and I walked into the living room and I looked at my mom, and she was sitting by the window, And she just was in a faraway place. I don't know. My mom always, I had an Aquarian mom. Mm-hmm. She's still my Aquarian
She's
mom.
still an Aquarian.
She'll be always my Aquarian
She's an Aquarian
mom.
on the other side.
She will always.
Aquarians will never give up being an Aquarian, even when they die. That's what I think.
And so she was lost in one of her Aquarian worlds, and she was sitting there, and I saw her, and I looked at her, and then I felt compelled to walk to the middle of the living room. So the middle of the living room, just a rectangular room. And I think we had just moved in, so there wasn't a lot of furniture in there yet. It was kind of like in the first couple weeks.
All right.
So it was like, I just remember the space. I had a lot of space, and it was rectangle. And is that the right shape? Oh my God. Did I say rectangle?
Rectangle?
I don't think it's rectangle.
You mean rectangle?
No.
Is it because you're emphasizing the word angle?
Is this rectangle?
No, that's a triangle.
Perfect. See what happens when you have hormone issues? So
That's not what I was expecting you to say. I thought you were going to say when you talk about mystical experiences,
Nope.
you forget the earthly terms.
When you have the kind of hormone roller coaster.
But maybe hormones are a mystical experience that make you forget the earthly terms.
That's actually 100% accurate. Because my roller coaster, there's times I don't even know my name. Okay. So I am lucky to even get these sentences out sometimes.
All right.
So, okay. So it was, it was a rectangle. Got it. Okay. I'm in the middle, standing there with my broom. And all of a sudden, I looked at my mom, and I thought for a second that I got scared because I couldn't understand the feeling I was having. All of a sudden, something felt so massively, viscerally large, like physical, that entered into my body.
An energy.
But I didn't know it was an energy. So I'm trying I'm trying to explain it from a 5-year-old's point of view.
Okay.
That's the best way for me to explain it. So I'm not saying, oh, that was an energy. So I'm saying, oh my God, there's a big feeling happening. And I thought it was emotions. Like I'm feeling emotional.
Yeah.
So my eyes got really big because I was trying to understand the feeling I was feeling because I didn't feel like myself.
Okay.
And I looked at my mom and I said, Mommy, something's happening to me. Mommy, something's happening to me. And she goes, what's happening to you? And I said, oh my God, this is so personal. And I said, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to say this out loud because I'm going to start crying. Hormones times this story, forget it. So I said, at the time, all I knew was church in Christianity because I went to Sunday school. So all I knew was like Jesus, because that's the only framework I had.
They were sending you really young.
I was in diapers.
I know,
in the church. I grew up in, So I went, Mommy, you don't understand, Mommy. And I started crying really loud and almost screaming. And my eyes were huge and there was water dripping. And I said, Mommy, you don't understand. Jesus loves me. Jesus loves me. You don't understand.
Wow.
And then she goes, honey, I know Jesus loves you. I know Jesus loves you.
Right.
And I'm like, no. And I start screaming like something was wrong.
Right. She didn't know she was having
quiet because she was like, what is going on with my daughter?
Wow.
And then my broom fell out of my hands and I'm not that kind of kid. I was very same like now. And so the broom falls and I put my arms out to encompass. I felt like I was trying to hold the energy.
Yes.
Because it was too big for my body.
Yes.
And I started to spin in circles.
I
want you to talk about after what that spinning
the
is.
The Sufi spinning.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay.
And I started spinning and head up. And I felt a beam of light coming straight up and down through me. I felt like I wasn't even a person anymore. Like I had disintegrated into the experience because I couldn't maintain that. And I just kept spinning and I said, Mommy, but Jesus really loves me. He loves me. Jesus loves me. And I just kept going on and on and on. And I kept repeating. It felt like forever. I don't know how long this moment lasted. I think it could have been like 5 minutes. I don't know. It felt like forever.
It probably was like a minute.
I don't know. In my little world, it was like forever. Yeah. And the crying was outrageous crying.
So what was the feeling? Do you remember the feeling?
I felt like heaven opened up.
Yes.
And I got beamed up or beamed down.
Yes.
There was an exchange. I felt like something happened. Now, looking back, I'm going to tell you after decades. Boy, that was really hard to say, by the way. Okay. After decades and decades, I have looked back at this moment to try to understand what happened. And I think I know what happened.
Okay.
I think, because up until then, I was just a normal little girl. But I came here to be on this planet for a different purpose.
Yeah, you're a healer.
So I think what happened was my higher self, my angel higher self, said, tap, like little hello, little tap, like, hey, we're gonna work together.
So it was like
a
now it's time for a deeper connection, an upgrade, finalization of this framework. Yes.
Your little 3D framework, my 12D, 100D, whatever framework. We're gonna like connect, because I felt the opening, and after that opening happened, it never closed.
Yes.
And I've had talks with especially Erica, because she's had a lot of experiences, being our assistant.
Yeah.
Boy, does she have stories. But we have sat together and broke things down, and we've heard thousands of stories from thousands of people of their lives.
Yeah.
And no one has ever explained this childhood the way I explained it. So my childhood up until I was 12, which I consider real childhood, and then you go into teen years, and then like you're off to the races. But like that real precious childhood, I never, and it kind of carried into high school, but I never felt anything other than I was an angel. And I've asked people many times throughout journeys and retreats and sessions and everything, I've asked them, did you feel that way? Because I thought definitely more people have felt that way.
Yeah.
I've heard not only the opposite, but in detail how much the opposite. I've heard...
Yeah. Well, you were lucky enough to be born into a family that, even though it was a lot of psychics and mediums that I know, and even healers that I know, who are not religious now, or just spiritual, which means they don't reject the figures in other religions. So they'll go, oh, I feel that Jesus Christ consciousness, or I feel that Krishna consciousness,
right,
or I feel that Buddha consciousness,
right,
and many, many countless others.
Right.
We, as what's people call the so-called New Age community, I say it's so-called because it's the original.
It's the old age.
It's the old age. It was before all the religions. There's actually the old age. We are about encompassing and receiving all of those, instead of some strict doctrine of it's only these figures and only at this time and this is what it means. So some people will say, well, not on this channel, but in normal conversation, people will be like, oh, and now she's doing the work of the devil because she's in psychic and New Age and the occult, and look at that, there's an Edgar Allan Poe there, and look, there's a hand, oh my God, there's crystals, this is all work of the devil, and she does yoga, right? So and that there's people who do that, but here's the thing. First of all, that's completely ignorant, because this is about openness. There's all these spirit guides who are in all of these different philosophies and religions. There's so many, and we're surrounded by them. And the purpose of the soul is that upgrade into the ultimate freedom of who you really are. Well, and you are open at 5 because... Isn't it? Was actually, I think it was even in the Bible that they said you must be like a child to enter the kingdom of heaven. Yeah. And what does that mean?
I think it would be very interesting for those of you who have the blessing to be around small children.
Yeah.
To ask them, do you think you're an angel?
Yes.
You should ask them that.
Yes.
Some will answer yes. If they answer yes, like they just know, then nurture that, keep that going.
Yes.
And if they say no, or what is an angel? I mean, I don't know. You don't have to like preach what an angel is, but there's the idea and the concept of being one with the universe. That's the feeling.
It's amazing because today's the full moon in Virgo.
And I didn't have a feeling like I had wings. It was
no. I want to talk about that. So today's the full moon in Virgo. The full moon in Virgo is about the purity, the innocence, the clarity, and the angelic healer. Virgo is the sign of the healer. So we have this example that you're giving today about, did you feel like an angel when you were a child, which is, did you feel your own divinity?
Yeah,
Did you feel your own celestial energy? Did you feel
now, are
that
you
connection?
Surprised? You talk to people day in and day out constantly.
Yeah.
Are you surprised that people don't feel that way about themselves in their childhood?
I'm not
or
surprised.
You yourself. I've never asked you if you felt that way.
I'm not surprised because I see the state of the world and the programming that goes on. So I'm not surprised. I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised.
They say it so matter-of-factly, like, no. Like, I've never felt, like, what are you talking about?
But
and
here's
I'm like, oh my God.
But here's what happens.
We're all coming from the same place. So I don't. But different stages of development. And
but what happens is that when you do your spiritual, you do your inner work, and whether it's through a shaman or whether it's through meditation or a combination of everything you guys are working on and studying and teaching probably, that those moments of actual, I feel the oneness of source that has no name but all names, that freedom, that peace, that power, that love all together, they remember that this was at the core of what they felt as a child. And they forgot. They forgot that they did feel it.
Absolutely.
Because they've convinced themselves that they didn't because of their experiences that were troubling, whether it was some trauma or the emotional disruption in the house.
That's what launched me into the deepest part of my shaman work that I did over the years was when I got to that part, I wanted to see if I can help them to remember and to unveil the angel within, to see if they can remember who they really are.
Yes.
And remember, that was always my intention every time I led a journey. And I would fight tooth and nail through brick walls to get them to release their stories, to help them get to the part where they can see the innocence of them. But there was so much hurt and blame towards some of the violence and the neglect and all the very, horrible things that not most, but a lot of children have experienced by the time they're 5, between 5 and 10. So I do realize what you're saying, that I did have parents that did nurture that perspective, because they were religious, but they let me.
But they also weren't controlling.
Spirit. They weren't controlling.
They weren't the type of religious people who were on your case all the time.
The church was controlling,
right?
But they weren't.
No, your parents were more laid back, but they had religious beliefs. Mm-hmm. So you're lucky, because if you had been under my
dad was into UFOs.
If you had some sort of dictatorial parents about religion, you would have had a more negative experience from that.
That's what Erica says. Erica had that experience because she grew up in Catholicism. And she said,
all my friends who went to Catholic school? Are you kidding?
Nothing but shame, and I'm wrong, and you have sins, and you're a little kid, and you have to come up with all the list of things that you did wrong and go to catechism or something and talk to the priest and let out all the things you did wrong, and you don't even know why, because you don't feel like you did anything wrong. So these are all programming and things that you have to work through.
So the mystical experiences, guys, that we all go through are there. They happen because there's this part of you, the very core of you, that calls in those experiences to remember that you yourself are a mystical experience. You yourself are a mystical experience. You are an energy and intelligence and awareness that is expanding into the great unknown, that is constantly having more mystical experiences. Because if you say, we have to have these big experiences that bring us back to this understanding, right? That what's the understanding? That you are the mystical experience itself. You are the energy also. And in the end, whether you call that through love or the big surrender, or I did all my healing work, or I found the truth and I realized everything is connected, all of those things have the similar thread running through them, which is you feel like a kid again.
Yeah. I think people are afraid to own their divinity and to accept and announce and be clear with the world that they are one with all things and the universe, and that they are love and light, God, essence, higher intelligence, all of the above, creation itself, at the, I don't know if I want to say level, in a large way. They're afraid to say it in a big way. That would be so dynamic, because they're afraid of judgment, of what other people will say if they start talking or acting their true selves. And that is the primary reason we're even doing our podcast. Is the point is to be yourself. And the point is if you feel that you are one with the universe and you are love and light and you are your own God self and you're here to encourage others to be the same, and you are doing the good work for yourself and others, then you almost have to walk through the fire of judgment. That's a part of the initiation process. I think that's what choice do you really have?
Well, it's there to help you also not worry what other people think. But after a while, you just give up on it and you go, am I here to please others as my only reason for living?
Yeah.
And what does a please other means? Meaning that I have to be a certain way so that they accept me for who I naturally am.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is a huge
it's
discussion
a huge
about
discussion,
life. But
because most people, when they see us, and the feedback we get is that we're really fun and we're easy to talk to and be around, which is true.
Mm-hmm.
But if you guys were to know the amount of judgment and the amount of bullying and the amount of names that we've been called and the amount of vicious attacks on us over the years, most people can't survive.
See, but those people...
The only reason I think we survived it is because it's our truth. It's who we really are. We're not here to... I don't know, get a pat on the back from society to say, oh, you did it right. We're here to just say, this is the way we are. So this is who we are. And this is who I was before I even met you. And this is how you were before you met me. And we just happened to align when we got together. We compared notes and we're like, wow, we're kind of already on the same page.
Because when you're living for yourself, meaning that you are now free from what others are thinking you're supposed to be, and you feel all that judgment, you start to become owned by those people. You start to become a slave to them, and you start to just become like they're the ones that decide every move that you make, whether it's going to be accepted by them is then now going to be, the criterion for whether you're good at what you do, whether you're worth listening to, talking to. And what you're seeing in the world now, and the big shift that's happening is that, I said the big shift, it's not like I said the big shit. Yeah, the big shit and the big shift that's happening right now is...
Both of them are a release.
Both of them are a release. You got it. And what we're going to start seeing more is that people are going to start sharing their own mystical experiences more, because how much you're going to discuss the same old stuff, every single war, all places where people are stuck in their consciousness, you cannot leave out space in your life to even have mystical experiences, guys, because
that's true what you're about to say. That's what I really wanted to talk about. Yeah.
Leave space for magic to happen. So that it doesn't have to force its way into your life.
Yes.
Okay. Magic's so
when you say force its way into your life, that could mean through means you don't want.
Yes.
Like near-death experiences.
Yes.
Accidents,
certain illnesses,
comas.
Yes. Troubles. Whatever, any kind of trouble you experience in life, stuff that troubles you,
then
basically.
Magic will find its way, because either way,
to transform you.
And the reason why we call it magic is because it's the unknown and it's magical, wonderful universe of love, and it's all here for us. But you're not, some people feel left behind and they have like just thrown to the wolves, or they're thrown in the ocean, but we're not left behind. And so this consciousness, this magic that Riz talks about, it will force its way into your life if you reject it. And the people who are, I was a Christian, so I can talk about this because I was a Christian for 25 years, hardcore. I could say, and many different types of Christianity sects that I played around in. I just want to say that as far as Christians go, I do have a heart for them, and I do love Christians as people, as humans, because they are humans, and I love them. However, I do see a lot of pain that I've never even talked to you about this. I see a lot of pain within the Christian fellowship because, and you could fill in the blank with your own religion if you see it this way, but I see a lot of pain because I see that there's a constriction placed upon them that they don't understand fully. Instead of being a celebratory experience, having a religion, supposed to be celebratory because you're taken care of by the Almighty. So you're supposed to have some sort of like very illuminated and exciting experience, which some do, but some really do. But what happens is the pain I see is the part where they want to still have fun with everything in the world. They want to enjoy life fully.
Yeah, but they call that their human-based desires, which are kind of wrong.
Right, and you can't be really
context.
A part of this world. And then there's the devil people, and then the good people, and blah, blah, blah. And everything is separatism and everything. And who's really in control, and the devil or God. But we don't know, right? Because like you said, well, if the God is so powerful, then why doesn't he just kill the devil?
Yeah, I've said that. I said if God...
which is so brilliant.
Well, God is... I like to say that our definition of God is the source of all that
and
is
if Christians
eternal.
and other religions
But I'm talking about the
believe in
good
God,
versus bad, right? The good versus bad thing, and that's
would
the thing
make sense that God would eliminate the devil.
I'll tell you something. Like that end of that conversation in my life is completely boring to me.
But you weren't raised religious. That's why it's not. That's why it is boring to you. But if you're raised religious, like me and Erica, who've been completely brainwashed and seeped into the religion so deeply,
that's a good point. It probably is
we
really.
could talk about it for hundreds of hours.
But and that's what I found amazing with people who have had what for them negative experiences with religion, because there's people who were raised with religion who have absolutely no negative experiences. They're having a great time and rocking and rolling.
They're having a great time until something comes along that shakes and rattles that cage.
And it tends to do, and sometimes it doesn't.
What happens.
Yeah,
sometimes they can do lifetime after lifetime. I'm
Absolutely.
sure I did too. Lifetime after lifetime.
We are not saying there's anything wrong with
in my religion.
Yeah, I mean,
but
look,
it's just the way I saw things from my perspective, because I was moving out of that framework of thinking, and I started to see, as my mind expanded, I started to see more about the discontent and the unhappiness that I saw within the religion. For a religion that's supposed to be uplifting and healing and happy,
but you could say that the same thing about every religion, probably, right?
Yeah. It's about freedom for me. I just personally like to be able to roam about the cabin. I would like to enjoy all aspects of reality.
So let's go back to our mystical experiences. We're going totally into the religion discussion, and who cares? I mean, again, for me, like, I don't even care about it. But I'm so interested in people's mystical experiences because they transcend all of our differences. So you can find someone who's in the middle of a tribe in Africa who has a mystical experience, then someone who is sitting on the Supreme Court, someone who's in Parliament in England, and someone who is, rowing a boat on a lake in a mountain valley in China, and all of them can have mystical experiences.
I just want to say, to wrap it up in a more eloquent way, I believe that Jesus, the teacher, the person that has been replicated over time in history, different civilizations, I will just like to say that I don't believe that he was trying to organize a religion. I believe it was intentionally love, the purity of the teachings,
that
and
makes
all
sense
of
to
the
me.
teachers, and all of the teachers that came to teach, including Muhammad and Krishna, and everybody came with the intention of raising the vibration of the planet and helping everybody to get from A to Z in one piece.
Well, let's also talk about then you go into, that's just in the three religions. What about the spirit guides have been channeled? Spirit guides have been channeled in every culture. You will find a trance channel, and we have been relaying how to live a better life teachings. So just think of it as there's always messages in the air, and these mystical experiences are there messages in the air for you. So let's hear what your next one is.
Okay, wait. Whose turn was it?
Yours. It's yours.
It is? Okay. Wait. No, because I did the 5-year-old.
Oh, it's my turn. Okay.
Unless you want me to jump in, because I always have.
No. It's got to be fair. Okay. So let me see what my next mystical experience. Now, does mystical experience also? Can it be like a haunting?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have lots of those, you can imagine. Mystical experience number 3 for me to talk about today. All right. I'll talk about this one. Oh, wait. I also have would a UFO sighting count as a mystical experience?
Yeah.
I think I told this one, actually. So let me go to the other one. I think I told this one last time. Here's a mystical experience for you that it's a haunting story. And it's pretty... I don't even know if I've told you this haunting story. Okay, so this is in India. And we had a very good friend in a small town where my father's family is from. And you've been there. It's called Moradabad. And in Moradabad, there is... we had these neighbors. And I came to become friends with these neighbors. And so there is a type of... there's a word for shapeshifter in India, in Hindi. And I had heard that there was a man who had been married to this woman, and she grew very old, and he was married to her, and he ran away with another woman.
Okay.
And now that man and that woman that he ran away with left his elderly wife in some other town, lived next door to us. And people were saying, and she was younger, and people were like, always like, how did he get this young woman? But that happens a lot in Eastern countries, because it just happens, right? So I think maybe there was a 30, 40 year difference between, like, she must have been 25 and he was like 60 already. And they said he married a shapeshifter. And we were always like, it's part of Indian culture. We have a lot of wild things in our culture. And anyway, so they had said that, like, she's going to end up leaving him one day. So here's what happened. So he was having these experiences where he would wake up in the middle of the night and she wasn't sleeping next to him. And there was a little courtyard in their house, and open air. And he would hear her voice from the courtyard. He would be in his bed and he'd say, like, where are you? Where are you? Are you here? And he would say her name, and he would hear her voice respond saying, yes, I am, but don't come out here. And he's like, why? Are you okay? And she says, I told you, don't come out here. But then her voice started changing into, only way everyone described it was, sounded like a bird. So like a human voice turning into a bird's voice. Now, the reason why we know this is true is because one of our cousins lived in the house on the opposite side and would wake up hearing him say, where are you? Because it's a quiet, small town. You can hear a pin drop at night in that town. Okay. And so he started hearing over the fence, basically, this conversation. So my cousin one day, finally, this is like the fourth day, and this happened again. And he says, I have to come out. And she says, I said no. And then my cousin looks over, goes in his courtyard, looks over the fence, and he sees this large bird that he's never seen. He told me it was this big. Okay, it's not an owl. He said he had never seen this kind of bird before. And it was standing on, they had a little water well. And the husband is standing there staring, and he saw the bird talking to him, to the man. Like, he saw the bird looking at him and opened its mouth, and he heard the woman's voice. And then the bird said, I'm like, it's over. It's all in Hindi, by the way, that our relationship has now ended. Our marriage is over. Okay. Because you shouldn't have done what you did. And the bird flies off into the moonlight, and no one ever saw that guy's wife again. And they were like, did he kill her? But no, it's a small town. There's no way you could ever get it. And by the way, when we say small town, we're not talking like small town in America. We're talking like a village where like everyone has known each other since they were basically born. Okay. And that explanation, because my cousin saw it and like shook him. It's funny because it shook him, but at the same time, because of our culture, he's telling to me like,
oh my God,
of course, this is what happened.
So it could be that multidimensional.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, it's very symbolic, the story. Mm-hmm. Even if the story wasn't real, it's a symbolic story. And story.
I actually believe the story is real.
But let's say, yeah. So the fact that he can see multidimensionally is real. That part, I experienced it myself, so I can't deny that. Because you can see multidimensionally when you know how, or you are in that environment, and you don't know if this could have been a multidimensional experience he was seeing.
I can't say. All I can say is that I know my cousin, and I know that there's no way, he's an educated guy, there's no way he's going to lie about something like this. He saw it with his own eyes. He said, it's a bird I've never seen. Can you imagine even a bird that big? I said, no, I can't imagine a bird that big. So that was really mystical for me, because when he was telling me, all of my psychic senses were all giving green lights to this. I usually know as a medium when someone is telling the truth. And this was 100%
Well, that kind of goes into the stories of like the gurus creating flames, or dropping water.
We
from
had and I'll give a side note before you tell your story, is that in this particular town that my dad was from, so the Sufis. Oh, this ties into your story. So the Sufis are. Oh
yeah, explain what the Sufis are about. So
the Sufis are like what Kabbalah, people who follow Kabbalah in Judaism. The Sufis are in Islam. So they're the mystics, like the poet Rumi and Hafez. And if you ever see the whirling dervishes, there's those guys who spin. They have one arm out, one hand facing, palm facing the earth, and one facing up towards the heavens, and they spin, and their white skirt makes this beautiful circle because they believe that everything, the whole universe, is in circles. The music of the spheres, which Kepler, the scientist, spoke about, and many other traditions. Okay, so you did that. You started turning. So what they believe, the Sufis believe, is that now you're like the cell. You are the single cell that is spinning an atom that's pulsating. You're the atom that's spinning and pulsating. And when you do that dance, the Sufis go in the whirling dervishes, they go into this spin as this connection between heaven and earth, the conduit for this channel of divine energy. And many times in a Sufi gathering, they're called zikrs, and people would sit around, and as other guys are dancing or spinning until they're totally dizzy and they fall out, it's kind of like getting yourself into a trance, so people would be there waiting to catch them. And so, yeah, my uncles had taken me to things like that, right?
That's incredible.
Yeah, so anyway, there's this Sufi master in that town would bury himself underground in a box. And now we're talking, this is when my dad was a kid. Okay, so now you're talking the 40s. My dad was a kid in the 40s. And he would bury himself. Everyone would watch. They would put the lid over him and they would cover him. And he would be down there for 3 days.
Wow.
And by the way, this is in the center where the fruit stands are and everything. And so everyone had an eye on it all the time. And after 3 days, they would dig him out and he would just sit up, put his hands together. And he was there to show them the mystical experience. So this was, there's, by the way, there's more stories from that same town that I will share with you and everybody else. I don't think I've ever told you that first one of the shapeshifter, though. Yeah.
You know, I think as you go into villages around the world, as you go deeper, you will find more of these magical experiences because it's outside of the major cities where there's so much influence. And I think that you're closer almost to your mystical self.
Of course you are.
You're not in that same
You're
routine.
absolutely closer because you are now, remember something, if you believe we are creating our reality, then you believe everything is frequency, and when the collective consciousness frequency of the groups that you are in are together, you can create mystical experiences. When the Native Americans, they did make it rain with the rain dance. You get people in collective meditation, you do change the vibration in a room or a space or a situation. Multiply that by considering how long that culture has been there in India and that area, how long ago these traditions have been.
And it feels that way. When I'm there, you can feel the ancientness of it, how far back.
So those shapeshifters are considered to be like, they'll teach you a lesson.
Yeah.
They're there always to teach you a lesson. So because he abandoned his elderly wife in that other town and moved here and married this young woman, he never knew that she was this.
Well, I've had a couple... this is not my story, but I've had a couple experiences that I've shared with you that I have seen somebody shapeshift in the body. And it was at night. A couple times I've seen things here and there, but I was also, the state of mind that I was in was I was in a big life-changing experience to begin with. I wouldn't say an altered state, but I was already open because I was shifting my perspectives and consciousness of how I want to exist on the planet in a very serious way.
Right.
And so I was like the changing of the guard. So I was changing my life so deeply that I think I had just opened those portals.
So do you think mystical experiences happen to usher in the next chapter, or mystical experiences signal that you're in the new chapter?
I think mystical experiences
or both
happen when you let them.
Because people happen when they least expect it, so which means that they're open.
They're open.
Okay.
It happens when you are not expecting it because you are releasing that grip of what you think life is supposed to look like and feel like, and everything is supposed to be seen this way and that way, and it's all structured and you have to hold on so tight. And I think that it's when you start to let that go, you're privy to more multidimensional experiences and you can see more.
Yeah.
And I created that for myself just in the life that I live with you, in all my shamanic experiences, in having so many like experiences I've had to like survive through. Trauma will also like forced magic, like you said.
Do you hear our other mystical experience calling us from there? This has been amazing.
I know. We're almost done, guys.
You got one more?
I don't know. I'm feeling like I'm not going to do it because you just killed me with the last 2 stories.
Well, I think we should end it with that one, and we'll make a part 4.
I don't even have anything left in me. I mean, I have stories, but like you just totally fried my brain.
Guys, this has been awesome being here with you. You know what you got to do. We want to hear your mystical experiences, so drop them in the comments box. And
if you so dare to share.
If you so dare. And if you want to have
we could do it, you could do it.
Sunday night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Psychic Sundays.
Yes.
Join us. I'll be doing readings.
That's
we'll be having a lot of fun. It's going to be a party. Psychic party.
I might dress up like...
We just might be
I think I'm going to do something
costume.
special.
All right.
Because I'm feeling it. All right, let's see. Okay, guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.